Good morning, everybody. If you're tuning in on LinkedIn, Instagram, this is a special edition here in this podcast studio. We have some of the TEDx speakers that are going to be on the TEDx stage on January 25th in Delray Beach, Florida. And we also have Natalia here. She's the organizer. Say hello to everybody, as well as Sabrina, who is co-organizing it as well this year with her and doing a fantastic job. And she was the TEDx speaker last year for the first time in years in TEDx in Delray Beach, Florida. And I'm excited to have this group here. And we're going to do it also next Tuesday with the remaining speakers. So this is pretty unique. On the Owwll app, how cool is this? We have listed TEDx speakers, and I will be making myself available during this show. And how unique is this? That everybody out there that is listening, just find me on the Owwll app, and I will list myself at $1. And it's first come, first serve. Just like the old school radio days, you call in, and what we're going to do is we're going to put your profile on the Owwll app, on the television, and you'll get to talk to everyone that is sitting here at this table today. And if you want to ask the TEDx speakers anything on your mind, you're more than welcome to. So, of course, if you're not on Owwll yet, go ahead and give it a download. You can go right to the App Store or Google Play Store. It's Owwll. And, of course, if you're watching this broadcast, you already know where it is because we're pretty much pinning Owwll everywhere. So to kick things off, I'm going to bring Natalia on. You know, she's the organizer of the entire event. And I want you to talk a little bit about Sabrina, who's partnering with you this year. And then, of course, all the speakers that are here today.
Hello, everybody. Well, welcome. This is our new edition of TEDxDelrayBeach, which is Point Break. Due to the times we're living in, that was very much on point, I think. And we have Sabrina over here, one of our alumni of TEDxDelrayBeach last year. And something beautiful that we have about this group, TEDxDelrayBeach is all about the community. It's made just by ourselves. We put it all together. We are non-paid volunteers. We work 365 days a year. We look for talent. We curate. We help you guys get on a stage with all of the support we have. And we have an amazing community from professors from different universities locally that help us curate the talks, to a lot of graphic designers and artists and everything. And then amazing people like Sabrina herself, who decided to give back because of the cause that is driving Delray Beach. And we're so blessed to have her. Thank you so much.
Yes, girl. Absolutely.
Sabrina, welcome back to the studio. You were here just about 1 year ago.
Yes.
You have a podcast yourself.
I do.
So I'm excited to have you join us today. Tell us what's going on.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to say that Natalia put on an incredible line of speakers for our show. However, just seeing and meeting so many of the speakers for this year, I am so freaking excited just to kind of hear all of the goodness that's going to be coming out of the brilliance of the men and women that are going to be gracing the stage this year. Just listening in on some of the rehearsals, I'm just like, oh, so thrilled, not only for them as individuals to be able to share their ideas, their thoughts with so many people within the Delray community, but also for Delray to be able to hear the amazing goodness that these people have to share this year.
We specifically look for hidden talent and heroes in our community that more often they're not on a screen. So we kind of push them a little bit to get on a stage. And that's our work.
Okay, Sabrina, I'm going to put you on the spot. Before we get into all of our speakers of this year's TEDx, you know, tell them each one tip that you would provide, because there's so many tips out there, and you were on stage just 1 year ago.
Yeah, I was actually,
it's nerve-wracking.
I was actually just talking about this before we went live here, but Natalia actually told this to us before we went on stage, and that is to not make like direct eye contact with individuals, because a lot of times they're really feeling your, like my TED Talk was very emotional. And when you're seeing individuals really connecting, it tripped me up. I did it one time. That's what I was telling them. Like I did it one time during my speech, and it was during a very emotional part of my speech. I just happened to make eye contact with this woman. I don't even know who she is, but I so remember her face even to this day. And it totally tripped me up. So one of the things that she says is just like, look at all the foreheads, look at all the hair, look at the chest, but don't necessarily make direct eye contact with people, because people can make facial expressions. They could be smiling, they could be crying, and you got to stay on point. You got to stay with the talk and be able to deliver it perfectly, for the audience, so they can really hear and feel what you're conveying.
And practice is key.
Yes.
Right? Just practice, and then all of a sudden it comes natural.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like, oh, you memorize it and you're reading, off a script.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big component of it. So let's introduce our speakers today. Who wants to do it? Natalia? Sabrina? Who wants to do the honors?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Eric Berg, which is a postdoctoral research assistant in FAU, and he's an expert on when it comes to propaganda and extreme propaganda and social media. So if you would like to then give us an introduction, a little bit of what is it that you do for every day without giving up the talk.
Of course, yeah. Hey, everybody. So I'm a propaganda researcher, and I'm a technology researcher. So I like to think about the social connections we have to technology. And so a lot of my day-to-day work is trying to figure out how people relate to social media, how they relate to the underlying algorithms, those sorts of things, and how they experience them, and then try and figure out, how that impacts what they believe, how they formulate beliefs, that sort of idea. So I work at the Center for Future Mind at FAU, doing a whole bunch of stuff with AI tech and LLMs and chatbots and all of that. And then I'm also in the psychology department, trying to figure out how people are interacting with the stuff from the center.
Wow. I know a lot of people out there are going to want to call you one-on-one now.
Oh, yes.
I know, like that is one of those topics where like everyone wants to pick your brain.
It's,
Like I run an app, of course, Owwll, and I want to understand
exactly.
like why aren't people, coming in and doing certain actions, and it's like the way I think is not the way the other person thinks.
Yep.
And someone like you is like chase the data, right? And we've seen the movie, The Social Dilemma.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like wild when you watch that movie and you're like, oh my God, like these type of things are possible, and your just brain is like.
We did a round table with Eric a few months ago, and there was probably around 10 of us at the table, and everyone was speaking, taking their turn speaking. But I was just like, the whole time I was just like, okay, cool. Thank you for speaking, Eric.
So what's going on?
Yeah.
This neural hacking techniques, these things that people are doing.
Just so much brilliance. I love that.
Yes, I think you mentioned that. I'd like to remember that we do have the main event every year, but we do have associated events which are in the shape of a saloon, TEDx Saloon. TEDx Saloons are all about taking part of this TED movement globally, and we do want you guys to participate, to come with your own ideas, to have debate, and it's all about promoting critical thinking and better our community and our jobs, educations, etc., right? So we debate in these tables just as they were thought to be.
And you guys are going to sell out, so people better get on that website and buy tickets, right? What is the URL to buy tickets if everyone's listening on audio?
So you go to TEDxDelrayBeach.com, and in the very main page, you can see all of the links to get those tickets. So yes.
And you guys are close to selling out, right? I know it's very limited.
We're in tier 2.
Yeah.
We sold out last year, and we have a line of people at the event trying to get in. And unfortunately, we were not able to. We didn't have the place just to put in people last minute. So we do encourage you to buy your tickets as soon as possible. We are in a very limited capacity. The venue is beautiful, but it's very small. And you will have the talks accessible later, but you don't get to see live what the talk is about, and you only get to see the post-production after the talk it's done and sent out. So that's the magic that you get to see firsthand when you are in a TEDx Live event.
So you better get on that website and purchase a ticket. Absolutely. So let's move it on. Let's go to our next speaker.
I'm gonna let you do this introduction.
Jessica Hausknecht in the house. Jessica Hausknecht and I go way back. So I was so excited to hear that she was going to be on the TEDx stage. When she told me, I was like, what? So freaking excited. I just know from personal experience that this woman is an absolute expert in the niche that she's going to be speaking in today. And I'm so excited for her to be able to share her knowledge with the audience and with TEDx, right? YouTube, and forever to come. So what do? We ask a question? Do we ask a question? Oh no, introduce yourself. Tell a little bit more about yourself, girl.
Yes, thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Jason, Natalia. I'm enjoying this platform. I'm so excited to be a part of TEDxDelrayBeach. It's an amazing platform. I do feel like I've come across some information in my life's journey, and it's all about ideas worth spreading. And I really feel like this is information that everybody needs to know. So I'm really excited to be a part of it and to have that opportunity. I guess following Eric's lead over there and Natalia's question, I spend my days as a conscious parenting coach and a yoga teacher. So I support parents who are struggling with the daily things that children go through. I work with individuals and groups and couples. And as a yoga teacher, I am local here in Delray and Boca, and then also online. Very cool.
Okay, we have one final speaker to bring up. Do us the honor, Natalia.
So tell us about yourself. You're an amazing, and you're the youngest ever speaker in our platform, and we're so proud to have you. We discover you. I mean, it's like she has to be on a stage. She has to. She's gonna be our tremendous speaker. So why don't you tell us a little bit of what you do at school? You're a writer, you're a poet. Tell us everything.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Karmiah Smith, and I am 16 years old. I'm a junior at Dreyfus in West Palm Beach. And what I love to do is I love to write, I love to talk, I love to do anything in that little area. And I am president of our slam team. I'm co-president of our slam poetry team at Dreyfus. And I've been in the slam poetry team since my freshman year. So I really think that has helped me like introduce myself into the world of like slam. So I do spoken word and poetry mostly. And I am also an editor for our news magazine at Dreyfus, The Muse. And yeah, I just love to write. And for this TEDx, I will be doing a spoken poetry about Point Break, our theme. And yeah, I just love poetry. So that's what I do. That's my little hitch.
She's amazing. So expect to smile, cry, right? It's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. I think the messages that all of these individuals have are absolutely amazing. This year, we're taking a step farther, and that's why it's Point Break. Point Break is a call into action. So ideas worth putting into action, and that's what we're calling. I think every single one of you guys have a little bit more than awareness and critical thinking, but rather a call to action. And we're so excited to have you guys.
Yeah,
So excited.
this is fun. Sabrina, I'm going to pick on you again. Talking about putting things into action. You've done a lot of this, right? I think we see so many people with ideas, but then like just executing is the hardest thing sometimes. We get overwhelmed because there's a gazillion apps out there. There's a gazillion websites. There's so much AI hitting the market on a regular basis. And what happens is everyone talks and goes to meetings, and then there's no action, right? So this is all about Point Break, right? So I've seen blossom. I've seen you put a lot of things out there, and you built a substantial community. So can you just speak to how you wake up and just take action?
Yes. I mean, a lot of it. Before we do this, I just want to notate that somebody is speaking right now saying something about $100. I don't know if you're on for $1. It looks like somebody might be trying to call in now.
We could go on.
Oh, do you
haven't
it?
got on? No, I'm not. Okay, I'm not available yet.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm being nosy.
You can't call me yet.
People are talking in the chat.
Soon you will get the opportunity to call in. We're going to give it another 5-10 minutes, and then we're going to turn the hotline on.
I love it. Okay, cool. So yeah, as far as I mean, for me, it's all about having a big vision. I mean, I feel like a lot of times the reasons people do tend to procrastinate is because they're not dreaming big enough. For me, it's like, I always say this whenever anyone's like, oh, you work so hard. Oh, the hustle, you got to self-care. You have to calm down. Like, what else would I be doing right now? It's like I'm either sitting at my desk building an empire, or I'm sitting in my bed watching Netflix. Like either way, I'm freaking getting cellulite, right? So why not take that same exact action that I'm taking and put it towards building something absolutely beautiful? So I will say, though, a tribute to Jason, I think that the individuals that I have decided to surround myself with, who are also running the race of entrepreneurship and building businesses, I think a lot of that has also inspired me. I see other individuals like Jason here at the Owwll App, meeting him a few years ago, or a little over a year ago now, and just seeing individuals that have that same mindset as I do, where they're going above and beyond what they have to do in order to really make an impact in the world. And when I see individuals like that, I'm like, dude, I'm not the only one that's doing this. There are droves of individuals that just understand the importance of getting the most out of life. So it's not only my own drive and my own desire of building something enormous, but also wanting to be part of that group, wanting to be part of that race, that
It's contagious.
of the
I think it's
individuals.
contagious.
Exactly.
And people like you and me, who understand there's a purpose, there's a bigger mission.
Yeah.
And that's really pull us through. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes
It's
you
not.
want to give up. Sometimes you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
It's
Every
just
single
so
day.
much. But then you get somebody else that helps you, move on
Yeah.
and continue in those efforts. And then it's just so gratifying.
Yeah.
So to kind of piggyback all this, Eric, I'm going to pick on you now.
Sure.
We're talking about these grand ideas. You build them, and then all of a sudden, sometimes it goes for a turn for the worse. And we're seeing that with potentially TikTok closing
Yeah,
on January 19th,
sure.
right? In the state of Florida, actually banning the use of social media for children under 14.
Yep.
Right. And that's a big decision where states can prevent you to go to certain sites or download certain apps. So can you just speak to, we all want to build, a brand that makes impact, but sometimes it takes a turn. I don't think when Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, like, he realized, what it would become, of course, and then how to control the beast.
Yeah,
right. So
definitely.
just speak to just like the impacts that could be made on a positive side, but also a negative, and then potentially how to control this.
Yeah. I mean, the technology space is crazy right now, which is why Point Break, I think, is so important, because we're at this cresting wave. We're at this top Point Break, and really it comes down to prioritization. Right. So like if you're starting up something, if you're starting an app or a podcast, what are you prioritizing? Are you prioritizing selling something? Are you prioritizing education? Right. I think a lot of people want to see something like these big platforms that are sort of all things to all people. And it's like that took time to get there. And really what you need to do is you need to prioritize, what do you think your impact can be to this space? Like that is super important. You can't be like, we'll throw in AI and we'll throw in LLM and we'll throw in all this stuff when it's not quite ready yet, and then you lose that priority. Right? Like what is it that you're trying to do?
And money gets in the way.
Money certainly is kind of the foundation of a lot of this, right?
And it amplifies sometimes that person who they really are behind the scenes. So sometimes they start a project because there's a problem, and then they fix the problem with the solution. They start making a lot of money, and then all of a sudden, like, that ego surrounds them, and then all of a sudden they're like, what happened? They missed the mission, the point why they originally started. And sometimes they have to hit the reset button, right? Good old Control Alt Delete. Jessica, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing between Sabrina, Natalia, and Eric. And it's exactly what drives me as well. It's that inner purpose, that mission that I think we're all being called to do. Like Sabrina didn't just decide, I'm just going to do Her Nation because I'm bored and I want to support women worldwide. Like she had an inner calling and a knowing this was her purpose and her way to serve in this world. And Natalia, you taking on TEDx, this enormous non-paid venue. I mean, clearly you have a calling to support a community and hope that ripples out worldwide. And that's the same for me. It's almost not a choice, my work.
I really like that. The
It's a
idea is that
call.
it's a calling, it's not a choice. I needed to do this.
It's a way to serve. We can go through our pain and our struggles, and we can sit there and we can complain about them and keep talking about them. And actually, I was at a point where I did that for several years with various things. I mean, even decades. Like, hey, you want to talk about my problem again, guys? And then I was doing that for my friends and family too. And I'm like, I've been doing this for you for 10 years. And I'm kind of like, I think I'm supposed to be doing something else with my time. And so when you come a little more conscious, which is really what I explore in both parenting and yoga, we become aware of those patterns, those conditioning that we've had and we were stuck in. And you get so tired of it and you realize like this isn't living. But we can use all of that we've been through to now serve. And so I hear I think we're all saying the same thing.
And I think breaking the pattern is also just being part of a community. That's why her community is so powerful, as well as Owwll, as well as the Point Break community with TEDxDelray, and why Delray itself has blossomed. And also towns like Boca Raton. It's just like there's this sense of community, and you don't want to do it yourself, right? Like when it comes to like losing weight, like who wants to like every day go to the gym by themselves or run by themselves? But all of a sudden you do like a 30-day hard challenge with 10 other people, and you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And, it really has a ripple effect, just like the waves behind me. Right. And I think Eric was going to mention something along the lines of what I was just.
Well, I really like this calling idea. Right. And I think that it really, really works well with the kind of this prioritization idea that I was talking about, which is if something is important and it's something you're good at doing, then the money sort of comes after the expertise, right? Like you were saying with building the business, you're good at listening to people, listen to their problems. That expertise then brings in the money afterwards, right? And that's sort of, you're prioritizing the impact that you can have, the interesting things that you can say and do. And then the business side of it kind of seems like it falls in line afterwards. It sort of falls into place.
Absolutely. It comes much more naturally and organically when we are serving and in alignment with what we're supposed to be doing. I believe we all are put here for a very important reason. It's nothing anybody else has to tell us what to do. We don't pave that for our children. We're all born with our purpose. Jason, I love what you said about community, because the biggest thing that got me stuck out of those years of conditioning was community. I had to put myself around people who were also transforming their lives, who were also focused on growth and change and community. And that's crazy, right? After 40 years of life, of course, my family and friends were still my friends. And I didn't know that I needed to seek out new people, but it was such an important part for me to be able to make the changes. I needed to be inspired and around people who were doing the same thing. And I had a question for you, Karmiah. Do you feel like this is an innate calling for you with your poetry? Do you feel that same kind of description that we've all mentioned?
Yeah, I was just about to touch on what Jason said about how money will come after. And I think that's really important because obviously everyone's thinking about like what comes next, because I have a lot of stuff to do ahead of me, and I have college, I have what career am I going to do, where am I going to live, like what am I going to do in life. And I like truly believe that if you have a calling to something now, and like I know that I love poetry, I know I love talking about events, and I know I love like getting in today's world, so why wait? Because I know that you said time will pass, but time will pass like always. So it's just what you're going to do with that time, and how are you going to bring that out so you can be the best person that you can be, and also how you can use your calling, because it's a calling for a reason. Like you love it for a reason.
Love that. That's great.
Okay,
She's only 16.
She's only
Exactly.
16.
Way more put together than I was.
Should have signed a release. Should have signed a release before coming on this show, but thankfully her mother's here, so she knows. So we're going to do something unique right now, right? So I just put the Owwll app broadcasting on our television, and I'm going to give everyone in our audience just a quick tutorial how to use it and how to call into the show. So in a moment, I'm going to make myself available, and you'll see all these profiles who are available have the green flashing, and all you have to do is click someone's profile. We'll click on Chella, right? And Chella is $3 for 10 minutes to be connected to her. So Owwll enables you to gain access to professionals instantly. There's no waiting around. There's no scheduling. You just call and pay and you get access. And it's an audio call, not on video. And what we're going to do, which is a little unique during today's episode, is we're going to allow you to call in for approximately 7 minutes or so and ask these speakers anything that's on your mind. And additionally, once you guys become an official TEDx speaker, we have TEDx speakers as a category. So every now and then we put communities on our home screen of the app, and you could, of course, search for the communities through our search module within the app, but sometimes we'll put it right there. So after TEDx, we will do that. We'll plan out maybe the Monday, Tuesday after the TEDx, put everyone here, and we'll let everyone that attends a TEDx speak to everyone right here. How cool is that? Because how many times do you want to ask people questions after watching someone on a stage? All the time, but then you get left with sending them messages on Instagram, and it's just awkward. The awkwardness, like, do you want to set up a meeting? It's like, no one's doing that after going to an event. Well, with Owwll, you can, right? And most people are going to welcome those calls because it's just about that experience and touching other souls. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and make myself available for the next hour. I'm not going to do it probably for an hour, probably not about 30, 45 minutes of taking calls. So if you see my profile, just go ahead and click it and call me, and it's first come, first serve. I'm right there at the top under the featured Owwll category. And then additionally, all the people that are sitting here have profiles. So you go ahead and click their profiles on Owwll and go in and check. Sabrina, can you take the mic? I think we have a video issue, so I'm going to get everybody back in. Steph, the video is down. Don't know if we have audio, but let's keep going because I think the audio will broadcast because sometimes the video bandwidth might have just stopped. So Sabrina, why don't you bring in Jessica? You guys chat a little bit while we troubleshoot the video.
Jessica. So we were just talking about our calling. I'd love for you to talk a little bit. I know this kind of calling come to you. Is this an innate thing that it's always been with you, or is this recent?
Oh, wow. Those are some good stories you're asking about. I'd been practicing yoga for over 20 years. And when I decided to become a stay-at-home mom, my girls were 9 months, I think 2 and like 4 or 5, very young. They're only like 2 years apart. I decided to take my yoga practice regularly. And crazy things would happen on my mat. I had no idea this was not just a physical practice, but when you really do it enough and combine the breath work and allow that to create the movement, it shifts energy that has been stuck in your body from past memories, past things that you didn't have time to process, and it moves them and creates a freedom. It's a very hard thing to explain, right? Consciousness, we're not aware of the things that we're not aware of. And so consciousness.
Philosophers have been trying to do that since the dawn of time.
Yeah, right.
It's a really hot topic right now. But also understand the awareness of the environment and that collective consciousness, right? As us as a species. And I'm a scientist and I don't want to get into heavy stuff, but we will have a speaker which is going to explain absolutely emeritus professor from MBU, and he's going to be explaining this connection that we're talking about in terms of consciousness and perception and coordination dynamics. And I cannot say any more, but I would say do not miss that. He's going to be the opening of Point Break, and that's where all the foundation lies. And I love that we bring consciousness. Eric, tell us a little bit of what the center that you're working at FAU.
Yeah. So the center is it's the Center for Future Mind. I'm working with Susan Schneider there, Dr. Susan Schneider, and we're wondering. I mean, the question is sort of in the title of the center, right? What is the future mind going to look like? Is it going to be AI? Is it going to be these chatbots? Is it what I'm very much interested in is the connection between technology and human brains? What is the future mind going to be like? Is it going to be Neuralink? Is it going to be our a deeper connection, sort of cybernetics and cyborgs and stuff like that, right? So yeah, we're very much interested in like, okay, are things thinking? How do we define if they're thinking or not? And if they are thinking, how is that going to affect us when we interact with these different minds that have never been in existence before? So yeah, it's very consciousness. Again, it's tricky stuff. So I actually, in a lot of my written work, I actually go back to cyberpunk a lot, right? Cyberpunk kind of neuromancer, and these sort of these sci-fi individuals, these creative thinkers that are trying to understand what they're trying to imagine what the next thing is going to be. And so I think creative writing is also very important, because I think it's how we imagine a different future. So you're a creative, you're a creative individual with your poetry. Do you feel that kind of that imagining a different future?
Yeah, definitely. And I think creative writing especially, it just helps you get out of your box, because creative writing, you have to do so much weird things to just come out with the expectation and the outcome that you want it to have. And like, I know in class we do all sorts of like exercises, we do activities, and it just pushes you, because you're not just sitting down and writing isn't gonna, like, sometimes you have to do more. Like, sometimes you have to think more deeply. And I think that's like a really interesting way to look at it.
Okay, I wanna see how you guys feel about being up on stage in a couple weeks. Like, tell us, because I think a lot of people, it's their dream to be on a TEDx stage, and they don't know what that feeling's like leading up to it. So let's go around the table. What are you feeling right now that it's 3 weeks away, and you're going to be on a stage in front of a few hundred people? 2 weeks away, less than 3 weeks away. But tell us, what are you feeling right now?
First of all, I have to feel a little excited, because it is TEDx, and second, it is my birthday. So coincidentally, I will be turning 17. So that's a cool thing to look forward to, and it's a cool birthday gift, I think. And I don't know, I just think it's kind of been surreal. I don't think I've really been able to grasp the concept of it and grasp what it's actually gonna feel like when I step on stage. I mean, I've performed my talks, I've performed my poetry, but I don't think ever to this extent. So mostly it's just surrealness, and also it's just kind of like exciting, because I don't know what's going to happen next. And I don't know, I kind of take that like happily, because I don't know what's going to happen and no one else really does. So I'm happy for that outcome.
Yeah, I can relate to all of that excitement and nerves. When I started to follow this calling about 5 years ago, I would black out speaking in front of people, even
Yeah.
small little groups. I'd be like, I think I talked. I hope I said the right things, but I don't really remember. It was like things went black. But once you align with that calling, somehow things start to happen, and I became able to speak in front of small groups. I began to be able to speak in front of slightly bigger groups. This will be the largest group I am presenting in front of. So about 95% of the time, I'm super excited, because I feel like I've been called to do it. Like, again, I don't have a choice. And then 5% of the time, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Yeah.
But overall, I know it's all going to come together, because when you're serving and you're in alignment, it works out.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm just treating it like a lecture hall, right? Because that's what I'm used to. I'm going to sit in front of 300 undergrads, but I know that it's going to be different, because the undergrad, they're students. They're there for a specific class for a specific reason, right? The vibes are going to be different. But I at least have something that I can sort of equate it to, which I think has been nice. But I mean, it's probably going to be like the first day of class, where I'm going to be nervous for the first 30 seconds before I settle in. Like, oh no, this is my space at the moment. I got this.
And it's different when lights are on you. No different than a
Yeah, that is
studio.
true.
When you have these bright lights on you, you can't really see the audience that well. But also, like Sabrina was saying, is like all of a sudden you're like, wait, is that the mayor? Right? Oh, is that the president of the Chamber of Commerce?
Sure.
And then you're like, whoa! Like all of a sudden, like it gets in your mind a
Little
tad.
forehead sweat starts happening. It's a little different.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us your why. Why are you guys putting yourself through this? Right? Often people know it's nerve wracking, right? To do this, like you gotta apply, right? Then after you apply, you got to be interviewed, because they want to make sure like this is the right fit to put you on the stage. Of course, there's a lot of conditions. TEDx does not mess around with what you can and cannot do. And then just the whole process of memorizing things, and you're limited to the amount of time, right, that you're allowed to do your talk, or they won't publish it, right, or they'll cut some of it off. So just tell us, why go down this route?
For me, I know we were talking a lot about calling, and I just feel like I was meant to not only perform, but I was meant to get my voice out and to get my ideas out. And I feel like it's going to happen eventually. So why not now? And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I have ideas, and I have ideas, and my ideas are important, and I believe that my ideas should be shared, just like I believe that all of your ideas and all of your reasons for speaking at TEDx are valued and should be respected. So that's my why.
Yeah, these tools and these things that I've learned along the way would be so supportive in homes, in communities, and worldwide. It's information that everybody needs. So being a part of this platform, being able to share it really does mean everything to me. I think that life is about thriving and giving and being inspired, but also being a part of inspiring others when you can. So my why is to serve and support and to be in community.
Love it.
Yeah, that's actually pretty much exactly my reason too, right? So I have this PhD. I spent all of this time and energy going through really difficult books and papers and really hard knowledge to get a hold of and to understand. And so now that I have this degree and I have all of this knowledge, what am I supposed to do with it? And one of the things that I really find important is, well, if you're an academic, you should be part of the community that you're around and in, and you should be sharing that knowledge, right? You're sure
I'm
you're
gonna interrupt here because I remember your podcast the other day where you were talking with Cox.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, Kevin
And we were
Cox.
talking about, I mean, I come from academia as well. I'm a
Yes,
professor.
yeah.
And the reason why I'm doing TEDx is because originally TED started by trying to bring all of these academia level super hard to break down into an everyday audience. All right.
We're going to have to pause because we have a live caller that's going to be joining us on the show. Hello, is this Jeffrey Ullman?
This is me, not in the flesh, but audio.
Wow. We have Jeffrey, and if we read his profile, he's part of South Florida Tech Hub. We were just talking about communities. I'm sure you're probably listening live to this broadcast. And how cool is it that Jeffrey is the host of South Florida Tech Hub's Tech Tuesdays here in this studio?
Nice.
So he's on the other end. He's always fielding the calls, and now he's calling in. So Jeffrey, go ahead. You have anything you want to speak about to anyone on the stage right now?
I have a couple of things. First of all, congratulations. This is a great idea. Kudos to Ted Delray. But I did have a question. Can you hear me, Jason?
Yeah. You're coming in and out a little bit, but yes, we could hear you.
So my question is, and I don't think you talked about this. You know, we live in a TikTok generation, at least for now, and it seems over time sometimes people's attention span gets shorter versus longer. So I noticed TED Talks are relatively short, and I'm just curious, is that just based on experience, based on data, or what? And what are your comments or thoughts on that?
Ooh, I love this. I think Natalia, you answer, but I want Eric to answer this next because just basing it off of really more data play.
He was talking about basing his views and his talks on data. So yeah, I'm just curious.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, Jeff. Thank you for the question. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. TED Global is all about trends and studies. And we do foresee, I mean, we have been like over 20 years, right? The attention span, the type of modality that the talks are done, et cetera, we have a goal time of 8 minutes right now.
Right.
The 8 minutes is goal time. Depends on the type of content that you have. It could be extended to 14, but yes, this is completely database, and we are all the time studying and really coupling with everything else that is going on social media, our minds and our way to see and process information. So
First of all, how long were TEDx?
Originally 18 minutes.
Right.
18 minutes. So from the 18 minutes, we're coming out into the 8. And there are some talks that are actually only 5 minutes. And another thing that I want to enhance is that TED is not just about speakers per se, voices, but there are performances. And the performances are also in between, like I would say, 5 and 7 minutes. So being a performer at TEDx is the same as being a speaker. You're just like transmitting the message in a different way.
Right. So it has gotten shorter over time, from 18 minutes to 8 minutes. True statement.
Correct.
Yep.
Do you think it'll continue to get shorter as we move forward?
As a scientist, I say no. There's definitely a threshold. I think that threshold is going to be around 5 minutes. I have seen the best talks and the best messages delivered within 5 minutes. I don't think you can cut it shorter than that.
Right.
Because of the way that our brain works. But
You can make
it's
clips of the
definitely
videos
not the
afterwards, though.
answer.
Right. Okay. Great show. Congratulations. Kudos to TEDxDelrayBeach. Kudos to Jason and Al. Thank you very much. I'll be on Al for another couple of hours. Anybody want to call me?
Yes. I think Eric's going to answer your question too, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I could give you a little bit of something. So yeah,
Sure.
no, so the stuff that I'm digging into now, I mean, we were talking about purpose, and we were talking about that sort of stuff, and prioritization. A lot of sort of the tech stuff that I'm reading and the psychology stuff that I'm reading is the length really depends on the purpose that you have, right? Are you trying to be entertaining? Are you trying to be educational? Those sorts of things. And there's some really exciting research, especially down in FAU that I'm a part of, where we're actually trying to determine if there is a difference in how we experience longer form versus shorter form content. And is it better for belief formation? Is it better for education? Can people recall it better? So the length of time is actually a really hot topic right now. So really, really good for this kind of this point break idea. We're at this like pinnacle of technology and people.
Right.
It's like, what are we going to do next? Yeah.
Now, you bring up a great point, because I've gone down this road a lot with the onboarding process of Owwll.
Yes.
And I've received so much feedback from so many people, like, eliminate this friction, eliminate this, eliminate that. It's what people don't realize, that that's not always the point, because the data might say you get more like watchers on a 4-minute clip, but you get more action from the 4-minute. Or would you rather go 18 minutes or 14 minutes, but then you have a better community? You got people that come back and buy tickets to go to the next TEDx, right? How did the ads perform behind the scenes, when you post things? And with Owwll, it's no different. Everyone wants less friction, but often, well, then if it's that easy to get in, you don't really care about the whole experience. And they have a whole thing about IKEA with this. The reason why we all keep going back to IKEA, even though we always dread it afterwards, is because we go there, and by the time you pick out what you want, you have a good experience. Then you're in the dungeon downstairs picking up like the 24 parts to build, something that you thought would take 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden you get home, you're like, no turning back now. And you build it, and things just okay. But you know what? You're never throwing it away, right? Because that okay piece of furniture, you remember that trip to IKEA. You remember that fight with your spouse. You remember that fight when your kids were going crazy. And you will keep that piece for a long time. And that's the IKEA effect. And that's the same thing when it comes to long form videos. Like, don't forget, like it's more than just the views.
Exactly.
And I think people are starting to learn that.
Friction actually in slowing people down.
Correct.
Strategic times can prioritize different things.
Yeah. So that's happening on Owwll right now. We have some user, like, there's these new people don't even have a headshot.
Right.
And then everyone's like, why aren't they going available? Take calls. I go, well, they download the app, they confirm their email, and the next step was to add a headshot. And can we take any professional serious if they don't even want to add a headshot? Right. So don't worry about it. These aren't the people you want to speak to anyway. We filtered them out. Now, the better people who took the effort are available on the Owwll app. So it comes into play. It's like everyone's like complaining about it. It's like you can't fix certain situations that people don't want to take that much time to fill out the profile, right? Okay. So, Jeffrey, do you feel satisfied now?
Great answer. Thanks for the conversation. Congratulations and kudos. And I'm gonna drop.
Okay. Well, you should call Natalia one-on-one after the show, and you guys could potentially collaborate more, right? South Florida Tech Hub, Delray Beach. I mean, I think those are two hot places in the TEDx. So you two call each other. Deal?
All right.
Deal.
I'll call you on now.
Thanks for being our first caller, Jeffrey. Take care. And
You're
everybody
welcome.
listening, go ahead and follow me and be our next caller. How was that, Sabrina? That was pretty cool, right?
It's fabulous. I was actually just going to comment on the IKEA furniture. I've had my IKEA furniture through 3 moves.
See?
3 moves.
I knew it. It's a true story.
Still holding up strong.
And it's-
The bottom left drawer, though, is giving me a little bit of attitude recently.
But that just adds to the friction and the character, and you're like, oh yeah, no, this is mine.
So we need the struggle. We need the waiting to realize how good it can be.
And the truth, I mean, you see study after study on this. It's like the people who have a lot of struggle early on in their life end up being, just inspiring human beings often, right? They've been through so much, and then eventually they're sick of it, and they figure out a way to get through it. And a lot of times that's through community, and they have such an amazing story one day to tell, right? And we hear these stories, and we're like, wow, right? I was just watching on TikTok. I forget it's a celebrity, but he was talking about just like what people thought about his privilege. And he's like, no, my parents were on food stamps. And then he waited 7 years to be called to become a firefighter. And he got in line, and he asked the person behind him, like, oh, when did you find out? And he's like, oh, last week I got a bill. So he was talking about like what people thought was privilege. But it's like, no, he's like, I worked in construction for 7 years. I got my break 7, 8 years later, and having a really, really rough lifestyle. But we all think differently when we see them on social media, right? We like, oh my God, they have an amazing life. They were spoon fed, but like, no, not always the case. There's always a bigger story. Social media is really hard today because everyone posts the positive stuff, not the negative stuff. And a lot of crap happens to people, right? We all as humans go through struggles,
One of our speakers from last year, which was Vanessa Rack, and who was talking exactly about that.
Yeah.
This rebellion of social media in where everybody exhibits like the best of the best, but nobody exhibits the struggles. And this vulnerability that you guys as speakers can bring to a stage is so important for us. They're not just a superstar. We don't want to hear like the ones that sell 1 million books, etc., etc. We want to hear real people, real stories. We want to inspire others into become their best that they can be. So I think that's super important. And I want to remind Jason that this year we're having a very special event in where we have a morning session in where we're inviting the community to participate and take up on a role. So I receive a lot of like, oh, I love TEDx. I would like to be a speaker, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes, they want to sell the book. They want to promote the thing, but we're all about community. And this AM session, it's part of our series of activators, just like our TEDx Saloon on civil engagement. And we're calling community to self-immerse.
Oh, we're going to have to take a pause. We have a caller coming in by the name of Ellie Santra. Hello, is this Ellie?
Yes, it is.
How are you doing? You are part of the live show with all the TEDx future speakers coming up on January 25th. You have a question for any of them?
I do. I know I was supposed to be there today, but I'm not feeling well, unfortunately.
Yes, we could hear it in your voice.
Well, first of all, I have a couple questions. I wanted to know, like, I guess with each speaker, if they could just like briefly give like a couple sentences theme or description of like the theme of what they're talking about.
Ooh, are they allowed to do this, Natalia? She's going, no. This is against regulations.
No?
TEDx has a very like, don't
Okay.
do it.
Well,
this is our
then-
background. They're not allowed to give away that. So
Okay,
you're gonna have to
okay.
buy a ticket and show up on the 25th. But she's
So,
part of the Owwll community, so she's gonna be there with the booth doing some interviews. So you
yes,
guys will get
I'll
to
be
meet her.
there and I'll see that that's it. I thought you could give a theme. Maybe that was last year, like because it was the day of, I was getting more information. Then I want to know what each person is doing to prepare for this big day. What are your tips and tricks?
Drink coffee. That's my tip.
It does depend on the speaker. So every single speaker, there's some people that are amazing oratory. There are some people that have never really been on a stage. So it does depend on, we have a tailored program for every single person. So we correct.
So you guys provide the preparation, like you give them.
We're all about the community, and we're not expecting anybody to have a speaker coach or to pay someone. Of course, they're welcome to do so, but our group works differently, and we have a lot of people in our community which donate their time to prepare them. I'm one of the curators and speaker coaches myself. So
Oh,
every
wow.
single one, they have a specific plan to follow up. This preparation usually takes around 6 months, sometimes 9 months.
Oh, wow.
And we had some people that are amazing and speaking, so they
Yes.
go off chart. So we have to keep them back into the frame of the
I
TED
think-
Talk. And then we have other ones that are super shy, and we need to
Yeah.
like go and explode. So there are different plans for every single one, and it goes from the curation, the pauses, becoming a talk, but also the feeling comfortable on a stage. Sometimes we
And
do a lot of preparations on a stage that are like absorb exercises, just for
Yeah.
them to make them feel comfortable over there, and we laugh a little bit, right?
And is that like for just TEDxDelray specifically, or do all the TEDx's like set you up with someone?
This is for TEDxDelrayBeach specifically. I have been a TEDx organizer for 7 years. I have, driven my license around South Florida, and this is the way that I have always worked. I'm an educator, and I do believe in altruism, and this is what we do. So that's why
That's
we
amazing.
are sometimes.
So
we
no
go
one's
and-
forgetting their speeches.
Correct.
Well, we're gonna find out. Eric is gonna answer your.
They
Eric's
better.
gonna answer your question next. Because I saw Natalia give him a little wink, saying like, "Stay in the lanes." Don't make me put that siren on and get off track here. So Eric, why'd she wink at you? What's she talking about?
Well, we've actually been talking quite a bit about mine. Probably you can see it on the podcast. I'm a very fast talker, so I
Okay.
actually I don't like pauses. I move around quite a bit. I'm very ambulatory.
That's good. There's less ums.
So there's less ums, or
I
they
like
just
that. I think
move
sometimes
so
people are-
quickly that you can't hear the ums.
Yep.
And so it's been nice to have that kind of that coaching where it's like, okay, no, but this is different, right? Like you're not
Yeah.
lecturing to a group that's all read the same chapter, and so you need to slow down, pause, let people think and catch up, right? They don't know what's coming next, you do. So that's been super good advice.
Love that, because you said, read or watch the same chapter, whichever one these days, listen, because we're seeing such a saturation of content out there right now. And everyone's saying the same stuff. Like they go on all these people's accounts that do very well and they just copy it and then redo it. Then after a while, you're like, why is my podcast not performing well? Well, you think you're the first one to interview that entrepreneur and get that story. It's like that entrepreneur has been on 100 podcasts, and then like, how did you get started? How did you get going? What's your routine? It becomes the same old, experience. So everyone out there is like, I'm not listening to that. I've already seen that chapter. So I love that you put that. Okay, Jessica, you are up.
Yeah, it's been a lot of preparation. Thanks for the question, Ellie. A lot of hard work goes into it, with a lot of support from Natalia's team and friends and family. I also turn to meditation a lot, just being still, connecting with my inner wisdom. Insight Timer has some amazing meditations for actually being on stage where you visualize being in front of people, and you can do one specifically for confidence and all different types of things. Another thing I find really helpful is recording myself, listening to myself when I drive around, watching myself, and really trying to connect it back to the moment when the things happen to me, because then I feel like I am most organic, more natural, and I feel like I really do sound best versus being rehearsed. Whereas when I write it on paper, it looks completely different than the way that I speak. So that's a big part of focus for me.
Yes.
Awesome.
Practice,
I can
practice,
definitely-
practice.
Yeah, I do a lot of meditation stuff. I do sound healing. I'm a performer, musician as well, so I definitely resonate with that answer and tapping into different meditations and breath and even like the different chakras and
Okay.
speaking from the heart is super important. So yeah,
That's my language. Absolutely.
I agree what you said earlier about how it's not just a you're not just speaking to a bunch of students, and I think that's the most difficult part about it, is because it's TEDx, and who does TEDx? Like no one does it on the regular, and so it's just different because you have to, I don't know, talk different. You have to have different pauses because you are reacting to such a large audience, and you want to have your voice heard the most clearly and succinctly it can be. And I think for me that's been the most difficult part, but I just use a lot of quiet time and I use a lot of alone time to practice my poem specifically. And like I know there are sometimes I just go in my closet and I lock the door and I don't come out until I memorize the whole thing. Or like I look at it and I know that with poetry there's like a rhythm, so I already feel like it's kind of like music. Not exactly. I'm not like an Eminem, I would say. But it's definitely like a rhythm and it's definitely like a movement. So I already feel the poem, and especially when I'm writing it, I know each stanza and I know each line. So it's kind of a familiarity already. But yeah, just getting into that mindset, like this is not a competition, this is not an open mic event, this is TEDx, and you have to perform like you're in TEDx. And I know that's been a big like challenge for me, and it's just a fun challenge to.
Have you ever given your poem to a singer like Ellie? Has that been done before?
I don't think have I ever given my poem to
Just someone else to perform. Yeah. Because of course, all these lyrics really, with melody and then a good voice can just, do such impact to this world. I mean, I know whenever I'm driving in the car and I listen to certain tunes, like I just feel the words, and poetry has that aspect. I know I listened to someone on TikTok and she just talks into the mic and puts in, a melody behind the scenes, and like, it's just like, it pumps me up in the morning. It kind of keeps me inspired. So I just wonder if that's something you've tried out before.
I have done, I think it was last year, I want to say, or the year before that. I did do a group piece where we incorporated a song into the group piece, and I think that was really cool. We were reacting in that moment we were reacting a story of my performer's grandfather and her grandmother, and they were at a jazz hall and they were dancing and the place caught on fire. And so we were doing that with our poem, but we also had like a jazzy song while we were saying our poem to kind of like break it up and to kind of throw the audience in for a loop and incorporate like more than one element in our poetry. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, definitely collaborating with myself or another songwriter if you ever are interested in turning your poems into actual songs.
I think that'd be a really cool opportunity.
Just give it a shot.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
gonna
have
say
to
Ellie's really
add
good at
you.
collaborations, right, girl?
Mhm.
I always see her
Yeah.
on
We
stage.
got 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks.
All kinds of people.
Let's sing one in the beginning of TEDx. Let's do it.
And then the connections that we're trying to generate. The platform
And
is all about connecting you guys. So
And congrats to Sabrina for hitting, what is it, 10K views?
Yes,
Video?
girl. Thank
I've
you.
been following you. I know what's up. That's amazing.
So Ellie, yes, we do invite you and all of our local artists to always, apply as a performer, because we do believe that the messages are not just the speakers.
I'm gonna be cut off.
Oh no! All right.
We'll allow you. We say 10-minute
Okay.
We'll let 10 minutes
I know
max, but
you
we'll allow
said
you to say.
10-minute maxes.
We'll let you two more minutes.
Yes, we want to invite artists as a form of expression, just as Karmiah, to come to the stage and to communicate those messages, because we do believe in art, and in TEDxDelrayBeach we do want to allocate a lot of space for artists, as we did last year.
Yeah, I remember last year we had all the paintings and all of that, which was really cool at the gallery. Is it the same location?
We are
For people
going to
listening?
start at we start all day, so we start at 9 a.m. with Gartrek walk and manifestation mile. These international movement of Gartrek, which is endorsed by Oprah. It starts at 9 a.m. So 9 to 10, we're going to have that walk, which is going to go through the Spady Museum, and we're going to the Delray Historical Society. It's called a manifestation mile. Beautiful.
Nice.
After that, from 10:30 to 1 p.m., we're going to have the roundtables, which we have AI demonstrations. We have roundtables in history, art, and also education and civil engagements. And most important, we do have a climate action plan in where we invite everybody to give solutions, proposals to the city of Delray Beach, which is our sponsor this year, the presenter, sponsor. So we are asking people to come up with all of their ideas, and in whatever form you are, for the morning session until 1 p.m. After that, we are going to shut down, prepare all of the production for the night. And at night, we start at 4:30 p.m. in front of the Cornell Museum. You guys are going to have a beautiful surprise coming from the Achievement Center of Delray Beach. And then we are going to be guided all the way to the Vintage Gymnasium. around the corner, and we're gonna start there like around 4:50. And 5 p.m. we are going to have our introduction with our announcer, with people from the city of Delray Beach, and our MCs, which we have a surprise. We have 2 MCs. We have a surprise and MC, which is going to be wonderful. And we're going to break down the section into Meet the Speakers, and we're
Nice.
going to have a couple of interviews on a stage as part of a TEDx Talk.
Awesome. It's exciting.
Nice.
It is exciting. Well, Ellie,
And where can people go get their tickets?
So we recommend them going directly from our website, TEDxDelrayBeach.com. You can
Okay.
also find us in other platforms if you look for events of TEDx.
Gotcha. Amazing.
well, Ellie, thank you for calling into the show today.
Yes. Oh, and where can everyone find the speakers if they want to follow you guys and follow your journey and all of that?
So,
Is Instagram or LinkedIn or
our main platform is LinkedIn. If you go
Okay.
for our website, you will see the bios, and if you follow us in LinkedIn, you're gonna see all the connections with their personal pages, which we encourage them to open up a LinkedIn page because that's our strong platform, and that's how you could
Yes.
connect with them. But we are inviting them to several events post Point Break, so they can participate and still give back to the community. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well,
And if anyone's tuning in live, it's right up on our television, right here. So just go
great.
to TEDx Delray, and just they're right here. But they could call all these people now in the Owwll App. How cool is this?
Amazing. I know I'll be calling some of you guys later. So sorry I couldn't be there, and I'm not going to take up too much time because I'm sure there are other people that want to connect with you guys. But have a great rest of the show.
Take care, Ellie.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling in.
Bye.
So how cool is that? See how this app can just foster collaboration and just connections that quickly, right? You know, you could see like all of a sudden, potentially, you know, one of your poems could be sung by Ellie, and it could be potentially, you know, for fun, you know, while we have mics with the Owwll booth, right? A lot of these poems will be 30 minutes to a minute, and everybody sitting there like, yeah, this is amazing, right? You just never know what will take. You know, someone's video recording it, and then all of a sudden it's got 10 million views, right? Okay, we're going to leave a good review for Ellie. And then while we are doing this, I'm going to open up the hotline. So if you want to call back in, this will be our last caller. So if you want to be our last caller, go ahead and find me. I'll make it easier for everyone. Every time you go offline and online, it sends all followers a notification. So it's a little trick. Sometimes, you know, you don't want to annoy people, but you go offline, online. And for this show, I'll do that. And you have more of an opportunity for people to call. So Sabrina, I'm going to have you take over real quick because it looks like we're having some video issues.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a call. We're still getting audio, by the way, regardless of the video. The camera is actually just having some technical difficulty. Okay. We have Amy Dover. You are our last caller of the show. And she's a 2-time stage 4 cancer caregiver. So, Amy, welcome to the show today. How's everything going?
Hey there.
How's it going? Are you watching the show right now live, or are you just calling because you saw me available?
No. Well, I mean, I was there. However, I was watching live on
cool.
LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Ooh. So I have a question for our speakers in how we decide how much of our personal story to share without really going into the sob story. So let me give you a quick preface. I have spoken on large stages and love it, but I have not spoken in a personal manner. I've always been in teacher mode, and we went through this crazy cancer journey, and now I'm doing a lot of caregiving support. And I want people to walk away with an understanding of a need to connect and take action, not just feel sorry for us. So how do you balance that?
Somebody.
I have something to say,
Yeah.
but I'm not a speaker this year.
Say, yeah.
So that exactly what you're talking about is what I specialize in. So I work with female entrepreneurs and really hone in on the story of their life in order to draw an audience. And one of the things that I talk about is you can tell your story in the mindset of a victim, and you can also tell your same exact story as a mindset of a victor, right? So I have a very dark, sinister story also of nothing compared to what you're going and not trying to compare at all. However, for a very long time, Jessica actually touched on this earlier in the podcast, where she's talking about her story all the time, and more of a sob story, like talking to friends, talking to family, talking to neighbors. And it's more of a negative vibration or a negative energy that she's putting out there, versus telling the same exact story, which I'm sure she's in now, where it's the same exact story, but the mindset that she has now of everything happens for a reason, or because this happened, now I am this much stronger. So one of the things that I talk about is, yes, tell your story, but spend less time in the story and more time in, first of all, the transition. And then second, where are you now because of the story? And then how has that challenge or issue that you went through now helping others transform because they are hearing your story?
I love that.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that too. I feel like with writing and with speaking, you can get like really into yourself and into life. You can be like very woe is me. Like I have all these terrible, terrible, horrible things happening to me, and you can kind of feel trapped and like you have so much piled up. And I think that that can happen a lot in creative writing. Like it can be very depressing and very dark. But when I write like my poetry, when I write what I write about, it's like, okay, I went through this. So what? Like, so why? Like, what is the purpose? Like, why did I go through this? Because it couldn't have been for nothing. And with every like experience that I have throughout my life, I take something from it. And so like just to focus on what I took from it and what happened as a result of it, I feel like can just be very powerful just in itself. Like just looking at that purpose, like what was it all for? So not to get very philosophical, because I know that's your thing, but like just what is it for? That's how I kind of like determine what I talk about and how I talk about it, because I think that's what you said, like how you talk about it is very, very like important and impactful. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, in terms of preparing it for a TEDx presentation, there has to be this balance of always going back to what is my one key big idea that I want people to take away. And I do have a call to action at the end, which was what Natalia was wanted to align with the speakers she decided on for this year as well. And so with all of the stories in between and all of that content in between, right, I can tell my story and take an hour to do it, or I can tell it in 30 seconds or 2 minutes. And so what I always have to trace it back to is what is needed to tie it into my big idea. Does it support it? If not, cut it out. It's not needed. So in terms of technical skills that I'm learning and acquiring along the way to make it as impactful, as inspiring as possible, to underline my big idea and my call to action. So using that balance.
Yeah, definitely. In my professional life, I do a lot of propaganda research, but then also radicalization and extremism, and so heavy topics like that. What I found is adding in sort of stress releasers, right? And so like giving the people that you're talking to, say, permission to laugh, because that can sort of open up.
Yeah. I like that.
And that could even give them permission to cry as well, right? Permission to have agency over how they're feeling when they're engaging with this information, with this story, with all of that.
The power of the pause.
The power of, we were talking about that earlier, about me needing to pause as
to allow the emotion.
Exactly, as an invitation and as a breakup. And,
You can kind of even think of it as like a comic. Like you wouldn't be able to hear the laughter of the audience if the comic didn't pause in the right spot.
That's the reason why it's called a talk, right? It's not a monologue. It is a talk. And the audience is semi-participant, because sometimes we do ask questions to the audience and we are expecting hands up or doing some silly game or something like that. There is this talk part and connection and these exercises that I'm so glad you guys are listening to, these pauses and that. So we are driving you into the story. And some of the talks, to answer your question, they could be just about awareness. So you're bringing something that not everybody knows and they need to know. Some of them are promoting critical thinking, the two sides of the story, opening the debate on something. And some of them, they are mainly about a call of action. Everybody knows about this. We have talked too much. What are we doing about it? And why are we not doing anything about it now? So every talk has a little bit of everything, but basically concentrate on that. And the platform for TED Global and TEDx is about the idea. It's not so much about you, but rather the idea that you have to communicate. So you are a channel from this idea to happen, and there's a reason why this idea came to you and you're putting it into action. But we really center onto the idea, and I think that's the gift that every single one of these individuals is given to the community.
Amy,
Man, that was powerful.
you got it from everyone. Everyone got touched
I
on that
know.
subject.
I mean, I felt all of that.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to do a quick recap because I have like 2 minutes left here. But I like the purpose of the idea without getting salesy or too emotional. And I think that's what I want to stick with in what I just learned and heard, because there's purpose in the story. You know, we can make them feel a transition. And I know I need to cut a lot of my story out. So thank you for that, my dove. And then giving them permission to also feel it, but knowing that they need to do something with it. That there's a level of awareness and action that needs to happen based on the mission that cancer gave my household.
Excellent. Fantastic.
And use
Well,
it to
thank
your
you, guys.
use it to your advantage. I mean, I'll say it. You know, I had testicular cancer back in 2023, the first week, and you know, I was building Owwll, and you know, I didn't let it slow me down. Like everyone would always be like, "Oh, what was it like? What was it in the hospital room?" I was like, I was making calls on Owwll in the hospital, right? When I left, you know, I was in a bed. I was like, I'm bored to death. I'm like, I'm gonna call people, and then I was gonna post about it and show people around me like, you know, you don't have to be this victim, be like, oh yeah, I can't do Owwll anymore, I'm shutting down, because you know, I'll take this as an excuse to run away and make my life easier than doing this crazy startup, you know, to try to impact millions of people while spending my life savings, right? And I now have a bigger mission. I'm like, yeah, I went through this, and you know, I woke up on the other side saying like, wow, I don't care about all this other crap on social media. Like people judge me, you know, they're going to judge you no matter what you do. And I'm like, I know my truth inside. And I just know that when I wake up, you know, I don't let things bother me as much, you know, let them be. You know, Mel Robbins always says it all the time, and she's become so popular for it. It's like you're driving to work and you're just getting continuous, you know, distractions from social media, from phone calls, from text messages, solicitations. And you could let that all bother you and get too worked up, or just say, whatever, that's their own opinion. And I have a famous quote after getting cancer on my computer. Its opinions are, you know, sorry to be vulgar here, you know, everyone's got an opinion, you know. I don't even remember the quote now. I'm blanking out. I got thrown off. I'll say it later. I'll post about it. Opinions are like assholes. They all stink and everybody has one. There you go. It came back to me. I know you had it. You knew. I saw Eric coming. But yeah, Amy, so you're our last caller, so we'll let you talk a little bit more. So any last thoughts, Amy?
No, I am so appreciative. You know, like I said earlier, I have spoken on large stages as you know, a teacher. I tend to get into teacher mode a lot, and I have yet to share so much of my personal story. And this transition has been difficult for me, probably more difficult than it should be. So I'm really loving all of the advice and taking away, you know, a personal sense of how to formulate what I'm going to share and how I'm going to ask people to take action into that. So that means the world. And hey, Jason, kudos for going live on LinkedIn and letting me catch you. So, yeah, this is great. I will tell everyone to just very quickly. I'm a Owwll user, but you're not going to get access to people like this panel in most places except this TEDx stage or applications like Owwll. So this is a fabulous opportunity. I'm grateful for it. I take every bit of learning to heart. And, you know, we're all about implementation here. So next step is to implement this great advice. Thank you, guys.
Amy, before you, is she still there?
Yeah, she's still there.
I run a podcast myself, and I'd love to have you on as a guest. I am also part of the Owwll community. So if you find me, my name is Sabrina Victoria. I believe I'm the only Sabrina Victoria with curly hair. Find me. I'm also across all social media. But I'd love to have a conversation with you over Zoom and then possibly get you on our podcast.
Yes.
I love it. Let's do it. Yes, ma'am.
And that's the power of the Owwll App, right? It's just gaining access to other professionals, and it's a controlled environment where you're not sharing your cell phone, your email, and you're able to leave a review at the end of every phone call. So everyone's held accountable. I think we're so sick of social media, just landing in people's DMs, solicitations. Then you jump on a Zoom and then things are said and you're like, no accountability is being taken ever because no one knows like what really happened on the Zoom. And then they do it to the next person. And I love this app for the reason like what we just spoke about, like in 10 minutes flat, we realize like you two have to have a conversation, right? Everything you were talking on the show. And you have such an amazing community, and Amy is literally like on the other side of like, just a tweak away from figuring out her why, right? And how to, she already has her why, but how to really show the rest of the world her why, right? And that's what's hard is like when you find that why, right? Like in Michael Jordan's case, is he was told something by a coach, right? And then he is like, I'm going to prove that coach wrong. And he won a lot of championships after that, but that was his why, right? And you could tell Amy has her why, but it's now how do you get the message across, right? And Eric comes into play with that. So I hope you call Eric, Amy, on Owwll, because Eric will follow the data, right? And say, hey, this is how you think about it, but this is how others think about it. So you have to switch things a tad, right, Eric?
Yeah, and what I really like about Owwll and TEDxDelray, my experience with both of them is that it's technology, but then it's also people, right? Like it's both together, which is a lot of what I like to study. So like, being able to have these kind of organic connections on the Owwll app is great. And like the salon event, it was fantastic to go to a place with other people. And I got like physical business cards for people that I want to contact and get in contact with and connect with. So I really like the TEDx events outside of just the speaker series.
Yeah.
The other events are fantastic. And I think Owwll app has a similar kind of vibe to that.
I have to jump in here because when we talk about finding our purpose, our calling, moving into transformation and growth, finding that community, it has to involve networking, but not just anywhere.
Yes,
exactly.
And that is exactly what Sabrina's Her Nation does and what the Owwll app does that is different. And Sabrina, they teach you how to network properly. So it's not just showing up and no action. You have to have action for networking to work, and it's a give and a get. Sabrina calls it the law of this very hard word, reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Oh, I like that. That's really
and you show up and you, of course, you want something. You are crossing this path for a reason and you are taking action, but also that idea of serving simultaneously. And that's what I think is unique about these two communities. So choosing your networking groups wisely, I think is really, really important. And, for anybody who needs any support, definitely check out Her Nation and the Owwll app.
Awesome. Well, Amy, thank you for joining us on the show today. We appreciate you calling in.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Have a great day.
Absolutely.
Too.
And call them. Call every speaker here later this week, okay? We want to get a follow-up from you. So that's awesome. And these calls aren't recorded. Obviously, they're recorded for today's episode because we're broadcasting it on the television. But like, how cool is this that you get to leave a review for Amy, right? And we'll use an example. We'll go over to Amy's profile right here. She's charging $1 to get in touch with her, right? And she's looking to collaborate on all these different things. She lists them right here. So there's icebreakers there. And you really don't know enough about someone based on their profile, right? We can only list so much about our profile. And a lot of people are bad at writing things on their profile, right? They're bad writers, right? Or they're giving it to ChatGPT and it's not really them. But with Owwll, there's so much authenticity, right? Just having a phone conversation with someone where you're not sizing them up. You're just communicating like we were just doing with Amy, and you just don't know that ripple impact where it starts with a conversation. You're like, didn't even think of that. That would come from that conversation. And then Amy introduces you to the next person, and that person introduces you to the next person. And then you have that potential that aha moment. And looks like I forgot to go offline. We got to take one more caller. Okay, this will be the final caller because we got one more, which is actually a good part of Owwll is remember to go offline sometimes. Hello, Tanya Davis.
Hello, Jason. How are you?
Welcome. Are you watching live our broadcast?
I
Tanya.
am. Hello, Sabrina.
What's up,
You
girl?
snuck in there. I thought we were ending the show. I was like, okay, that will be our last caller. And then but I did the
I
old
missed that
cardinal
part.
mistake. I forgot to turn myself offline
I do
when
wanna
I was taking
well,
calls. So
you
you are our
came-
last caller. You have
you
the
came
floor for
live,
5
so
minutes. We
that's
got to do
why.
5 minutes though, because
Okay,
these speakers
that's
have somewhere to go in a little bit.
Yes. So fabulous panel. Thank you so much for sharing yourselves with us today. And my question to you is, getting up in front of a large audience can be very intimidating for people, and you're putting yourself out there, sharing your story. So, I know you can't talk about your theme, but what made you say now is the time? What propelled you to tell your story now?
Ooh, that's a good point.
That is
Okay, Eric, you're up first on this one.
that's an excellent thing, and mine's pretty easy, which is I got my PhD in July. So it's
Oh,
like
congratulations.
thank you. But it's brand new. So it's like I need to it's like I was saying earlier, what am I going to do with this PhD? Well, I got to talk to people. I got to share this knowledge. I got to do this. And so this opportunity, this is fantastic for doing that. So it's sort of timing, and also I have something to say now, so let's say it.
Excellent.
Jessica.
Yeah, I think opportunities show up and we have a choice. What does this serve? What is the purpose? Is the time now? I'm scared. I've never done anything like this before. What am I going to do with that fear? Am I going to think that it makes sense because I've never done something like this before and realize it's a huge platform to fulfill my purpose? And that's the direction that I took, instead of saying, oh no, I need these other smaller talks first and I need all of these other things to happen. I think that things come our way when they're supposed to for a lot of reasons. So it's really doing that deep dive, connecting intuitively with our inner wisdom and seeking. And then you just kind of know when you take that path, get quiet, answer a couple quick questions of how it all connects. And then the answer usually just appears for me personally.
Karmiah, take us home.
For me, I started really knowing that I wanted to write when I was like 14, I would say. And ever since then, I've just been writing. Like, I've just been doing what I love to do. And I've been performing because that's also what I love to do. And the opportunities, like you said, they just come. And when they come, I pick it up, because why would they be there if they weren't for me? And yeah, I know I just love to write and I love to do what I love to do. So I'm going to keep on doing it. And that's just kind of been the goal for me. Like, the ball is rolling now, so why stop it?
Fantastic.
Well, Tanya, we appreciate you calling in. Unfortunately, we got to wrap up because the speakers have a tight deadline.
Yes.
Some of them have some meetings afterwards. So we're gonna.
I do want to say that Tanya and I are buddies, and we met on the Owwll App.
Yes, we did. We did. and I have been published in Sabrina's magazine as well.
Off the Owwll App, Jason.
Yes, all to the Owwll App.
Okay, thank you,
guys.
Tanya. Okay, well, those were our callers, and of course, everyone that called in, everyone here can call directly, one-on-one on the app. All this is published, so it's not hard to go back and look at my call history. Just hit the reviews, click all their profiles, and then go ahead and call them. So I'll show everyone quickly how to do that. Just click my profile, hit my reviews right there. I have 1,700 reviews. Look at the power of reviews on a platform, right? So hard to get reviews on anywhere now because everyone's like, another review. But now you get them instantly right after the call, and you can see Amy wrote that, Ellie, Paul Vato, right? So just go back in our call history. Not everyone has to leave a review, so you have probably 3 out of 4 that left a review, and then get in there and reach back out to them. And everybody listening, reach out to all the speakers, of course. They're going to be listening to the featured Owwll category. And of course, come out to TEDxDelray, January 25th. Just go right to their website. It's all posted on the feeds that you're watching right now, and go ahead and buy your ticket. And we have a special announcement. If you buy a ticket in 24 hours to this point, I guess, maybe midnight tomorrow, we'll extend it. I don't know if this is really 24 hours. Someone's really sitting behind a computer and saying, nope. But you get a discount. Use code Owwll20 and get 20% off. I think it's 20% off, right?
20% off if any ticket you want to buy.
Ooh,
We
any
have
ticket.
2 different tickets. We have the AM series, which is Activator, you take part. We have the PM, which are the recorded talks. And then we have an all-day pass. So all of those are at 20%. And I'm going to
And the
give
mug.
out something more.
Oh, yeah. Tell them.
But that's only going to be for 1 hour. So if you buy your ticket within the next hour and upon supply lasts, we're going to have a beautiful gift for you when you come on Saturday with our TEDx logo.
Okay, and then I'll spice it up. If you're a new sign up to Owwll and you're watching this broadcast and you do what she just said, you sign up within the next 24 hours, I'll give you $25 on Owwll. That is good for the next 90 days, but you just got to take a screenshot of that ticket purchase, of course, to confirm that you really did it. And then send it to our email, feedback@owwll.com. It's the same email you will receive when you sign up. So just reply back to it. So that'll be my gift to the audience. And of course, Owwll will be out at the TEDx doing live interviews, right? So come out and get your chance to do what they're doing. We're going to have a little booth, interview people on the spot, and it'll be a lot of fun. And you'll get to meet everybody here, of course. And a lot of the people behind the scenes with Owwll will be there as well. So thank you all for joining. And we're going to do this again on Tuesday with the other speakers that will be part of the TEDxDelray. So tune in on Tuesday and look out for our social media posts. Take care, everybody. And
Thank you,
call
everyone.
everybody
Thank
on
you.
Owwll. Take care and see you later.